should the government be doing here? Because I don't understand why they are not speeding up processing. And there's potential answers to this in my mind. One is that they don't want to, because it will end up, the more they speed up or expedite that procedure, the more people they're going to sign off to stay in the country. And then that's going to look really bad when all of a sudden, you know, 75% of the people waiting around to be processed end up with British citizenship or the right to remain. My other theory is that perhaps they don't want to do this and leave it to the Labour Party to do. And perhaps the third theory is that actually the more we focus on illegal migration, we're not drilling down into the record-breaking legal migration statistics. What do you think the government's plan is?
Well, I think you're right there. I think it is about kicking it into the long grass. We know that politicians love to do that. They've pretty much see it as a foregone conclusion that there's going to be a Labour government, and maybe it'd be better for them to deal with this issue. They seem to have tried to resolve this issue, but we've had some pretty decent home secretaries in, haven't we? We've had Priti Patel and Suella, who they've been put in place in order to sort of front this kind of hard line. We're going to deal with this issue. But then nothing has been able to happen behind the scenes. So there's clearly a massive issue there that needs to be dealt with. And it just seems they're in like rabbits in a headlight of how to actually solve this problem. And, you know, this is a government that, despite having an 80-seat majority in Parliament, is dictated to by a largely left-wing media. And I think they're just really petrified of being seen as the nasty party, despite what poll after poll is telling them about how people feel about this issue. You know, this isn't a racist issue. This is the debate that has been had, you know, since Brexit and before Brexit. This is about people coming here illegally. So by definition, they're criminals. And I think it makes people deeply uncomfortable, particularly given that we're having to pay for it. And it has to be solved. But who knows what the government's plan is, because it's not doing anything at the moment.
I mean, it strikes me when I walk about where I live in London, there are plenty of homeless people who are all clearly British. I mean, yes, they live on the margins of society. They may have mental health issues. They may have addictions. They may have troubled family pasts. These people are living on the street and they're British citizens. They're not being given help. They're not being put into hotel rooms. They're not being given secure accommodation with 24 access to nurse and doctors, things that they probably need. And it strikes me as deeply immoral, essentially, to not look after your own flock and welcome in other people from other countries first. I mean, something else that makes me deeply uncomfortable is legal migration, because you and I both know that people in this country are saying we've got no problem with inward migration. We understand our economy may need it, and we also understand that it's brilliant welcoming people from other parts of the country, and it can make us richer and more diverse and all the rest of it. But people are also worried about integration, and they're worried about our infrastructure, and these two things cannot be dealt with the rates we've got now. Looking at some of these stats, work visas have gone up 45%. That's work visas, people coming here legally to come and do a job. Student visas are up 23%. Those are people essentially who go into university, and many of whom don't go home again and overstay. Perhaps one of the most shocking statistics is a quarter of all the students' visas are dependents. These are people who are coming to study here and bringing their wife and their family, with family visas themselves, up 110%. Now, I'm sorry, if you're a dependent, the likelihood is you're not contributing to the economy. You're coming here as an extra mouth around the table to feed. That's all very well in a society that's got plenty to share, but we don't have doctor's appointments available to us. We don't have big enough housing stock. How on earth is this government getting away with these levels of legal migration?
Absolutely. And this is the thing that people are so frustrated about. As you say there, this is about the infrastructure that we have in place, and the fact that, you know, we can't get access to the things that we need. You know, British people can't get access to those things, and therefore we cannot sustain this. And as I said, this is a debate that has been had over and over, and it led to the Brexit vote, and it led to the Conservative Party being given an 80-seat majority in government, in Parliament, sorry. And, you know, it is so frustrating that what is happening here is these visa applications, this is being allowed to not only continue, but to escalate. And there's something, you know, really wrong in the background here. And, you know, it's being driven by these human rights lawyers and what have you, who are pushing through this. You know, if you get a student visa, you can bring your family along. You know, clearly this is not what legal migration should be about, as you said. But it's going to really come down to a crux of an issue at the general election when politicians are going to have to stake a claim on this. At the moment, they're just hoping that people aren't paying attention to the detail. But as you and I know, they are on this topic. They're not just reading the headlines and thinking, Rishi's he says he's trying really hard, so we're going to take his word for it. They want to see results. And it's just, at the moment, it just seems that this government, despite having an 80-seat majority, is incapable of pushing through any reforms.
Well, incapable or unwilling, because I think it's very much in the gift of a government to set a cap on inward migration. In the 90s, we were talking tens of thousands of people. We've got to the stage today that gross inward migration is over a million people a year. Now, if you offset that with the amount of people going home or Brits moving abroad, the number is lower. But you're looking at a huge social change that is unprecedented.